Hi students, today we are looking at 2021 PSLE math paper. So today we are looking at some of the tough questions in this paper. So without any further ado, let's delve right into it. So the first question that I'm going to look at is question number 4. In this question, it says that which of the following shows 1/3 of the figure shaded? Whenever you solve a question like that, you first have to make sure that the shapes are all equal. Because if they are not equal, then there's no way you'll be able to see, all right, how many are shaded and how many are unshaded. All right, so let's take a look at option number 1. As you can see over here, option number 1, right, we have 3 parts in total, but you will realize that first part, second part, and third part, they are not the same. First and the third part, they are the same, but for second part, it is not the same. So what I want to do is I want to split it up. So here's what I will do. I will split it up into half, right? And you can see over here that the one on my left-hand side, which is this one over here, is actually half of the one on my right-hand side. So if that is the case, it means that it is now divided into half. Okay, now so what I can see is this is that one part and two parts, they are shaded. So since 2 out of 4, we are just going to simply do 2 over 4, and therefore this is half of the figure shaded. Now the other one, thankfully, it's just 1 out of 4 because the shapes are all the same, they are all triangle. Okay, and then of course the next one we go 1, 2, 3 out of 2, 4, 6, 8, so 8 parts. And finally the fourth one will be 3 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that is 9. So therefore, right, you can simplify 3 over 9 to 1 over 3, and that is the reason why your answer for this question has to be option number 4. So let's move on to question number 12. As you can see over here, it says that Bala used 44 tags to pin his drawing side by side on a board as shown. Now, when you look at the drawings, okay, each drawings will have how many tags? They will have 2 tags. Okay, they will have 2 tags, okay, and the next drawing will have 2 tags followed by another 2, so on and so forth, right? So what we want to do, right, whenever you see something like this, you either solve it in terms of groups, okay, or what I like to do is I like to remove the extra. So I know that in total is 44, but did you realize that the last picture, okay, the one with the banana, all right, there's actually 2 tags over here. And why is it that I have to have these last 2? It's so that I can secure the other side of the paper, right? So now you do realize that these 2, they are basically my extra, right? Because if you were to think about it, each picture will only have 2. But for the last one, there are 4 in total. So what I want to do first is I want to remove the extra. So we always write this down, that this is to remove the extra. Okay, I will simply do 44 minus 2, and that I'll get to 42. Now, I have 42 tags in total. What I want to do next is I want to find the number of drawings. Okay, so if I know that one drawing is actually equals to 2 tags, all right, how many drawings is equals to 42 tags? Okay, so what you want to find is this question mark over here. How do I go about that? I just have to ask myself, how do I get from 2 to 42? I simply times 21, right? So therefore, when I do something to my right, I must do something to my left, and therefore my answer has to be 21 drawings in total. So therefore, the option number has to be 3. Now, in question number 14, it says that Tim had 13 more $2 notes than $5 notes at first. Okay, so that is my how many. All right, so that is basically my number of notes. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to show that for $2, okay, it's actually 13 more than $5. 13 more than $5. Okay, so I'm going to write it over here and I'll say that this is 13. Okay, so what happens is this. He exchanged $20 worth of $5 notes. Okay, you want to stop here. What is $20 worth of $5 notes? $20 worth of $5 notes is basically 4 $5 notes in total. So 4 $5 notes. What did he do? He exchanged. So that means he gave that 4 $5 notes and he got back $2 notes that are worth $20. Okay, so 20 divided by $2, I'll get to 10 $2 notes. Okay, so this is what happens. Okay, now the question says how many more, so they're asking for the difference, so that's the reason why I put a minus sign over there. $2 notes then $5 notes did team have after the exchange? Okay, so we are going to show it in the model. So what happens is this, right? Remember just now I said that there are 13 over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove 4 away from $5. So I'm just going to remove 4 away from here. Okay, what I want to do is I want to cancel out, and then I will mirror image up and I'll say that this is 4. Okay, once I'm done with this, remember, right, because I exchanged, that means to say I'll receive another 10. Okay, so I have 10 over here. All right, now then the question asks us to find the difference, right? So the difference is basically everything from here all the way to this point, okay? So therefore, you just simply have to do 4 plus 13 plus 10, and that gives you 27, and that is basically 27 more $2 notes than $5 notes after the exchange. And my answer has to be number 4. So in question number 15, it says that a box contains brown balls and green balls. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to quickly write this down first. Okay, now we have brown, we have green balls. Okay, and we know that 40% of them were green. So I can write down that 40% is green, so therefore my hidden information has to be 60%. Now what exactly is that? So what you want to do is you can change them into 4 is to 6, and then of course change it down to 2 is to 3. Okay, so this is what you can do. You can turn it into a ratio so that will be easier for you. All right, so what happens is this, right? After some yellow, so they have added some yellow balls. Yellow balls. When they have added some yellow balls, what happens to my green? My green became 26%. Okay, so what exactly is the 26%? 26% is for green. So what happens is that I've added some of this, okay, and my green balls becomes 26%. So we are going to write down 26%. Okay, now in order for me to find my brown balls, I just have to simply do 3 over 2, right? Because if 2 units is 26%, then 3 units will be, so maybe you can write this down instead. 2 units is 26%, 1 unit will then be 13%, and 3 units will then be 39%. So we know that this is simply just 39% for brown and green. The reason why I can do this is simply because I know that brown and green does not change in value. Right? So to find out my yellow balls, I just have to do 100% minus 39% minus 26%. Okay, and when you do that, you get to an answer of 35%. And this explains why your answer for this question has to be option number 3. So in question number 25, it says that Mrs. Tan had a bottle of oil and she used an equal amount of oil each day. Okay, so we are going to write down that each day, okay, is actually equals to equal amount. All right, now at the end of the 4th day, she had 880 ml of oil left. Okay, so this is sentence number 2. At the end of 4th day, which means to say day 1. Okay, so what we can do is in fact draw a timeline if you want. If not, you can also draw a model. Okay, we can say that this is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. All right, so now I know that at the end of day 4, she had 880 ml of oil left. Okay, and then at the end of day 6, so day 5, day 6, she had half. So as of this point, she had half. Now, this goes to show that she needs 6 days to finish half of the bottle. Okay, half of the bottle. Now, and you realize that half is actually very important, because if I know that 6 days require, if I know that Mrs. Tan requires 6 days to finish half of the bottle, I can simply say that Mrs. Tan will need 12 days to finish full. That means every single drip of the oil. So that is 12 days, right? So we can say this is day 7, we can say this is day 8, we can say this is day 9, we can say this is day 10, we can say this is day 11, we can say this is day 12. All right, now so I don't know how much of oil is finished over here, but what I do know for sure is that I still have 880 ml of oil to finish over here. Isn't that true? Because as of this point, day 4, I still have 880 ml of oil in my bottle. So the rest of the days, I'll be using the rest of the days to finish the 880 ml. right? So now over here, as you can see, right, how many days is it? From 4 to 12, you do not count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, you count the intervals, the bunny hops. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So therefore, we know that 8 days is actually equals to 880 ml. So what do we want to do? We want to find 1 day. And we know that 1 day will then be 880 divided by 8, and we get to 110 ml. Now, the question wants us to find how many liters of oil were there in the bottle at first. So since it is at first, we know that it will be 12 days, right? So we are going to find 12 days. Okay, for that, we are just going to do 110 times 12, and we get to an answer of 1320 ml. Now, the question wants us to express it in another unit, all right? They say, I want it to be in liters. To find liters, to convert from ml to liters, all I need to do is to divide by 1,000. When I divide by 1,000, I need to move back. 1, 2, 3. And that is the reason why I will get to 1.32 liters. So let's move on to question number 30. Now, as you can see over here, it says that in figure number 1, the total perimeter of 4 rectangles, okay, so basically over here, R and Q and square S is 144 cm. Okay, so they are talking about the perimeter, which means to say the outside. Now, they are joined. Okay, so I've joined them together to form a large square. So this is a square in figure number 2, which has a perimeter of 56 cm. Because I know that this is a square and it has a perimeter of 56, what I can do is simply just find the length of fig 2. All right, I simply just have to do 56 divided by 4, and I'll get to an answer of 14 cm. So what is 14 cm? 14 cm is anywhere from here all the way down to here. This is basically 14 cm. And this itself is also 14. And this itself is also 14, so on and so forth, right? Now, well, they want us to find the length of one side of square S, okay? So if you know, right, if you know that the whole thing is 14, did you realize that 14 is actually made up of one breadth and then one length? I say that again, the breadth of R and the length of R. So we go back to figure number 1. We can see that this is the length of R and this is the breadth of R. This is the breadth of R and this is the length of R. So we know that one length plus one breadth is actually equals to 14. Right? So if I have, okay, as you can see over here, I have 1 over here and 1 over here. So that is one length and one breadth. And then one whole rectangle, so the perimeter of 1R will then be 14 times 2, which is actually equals to 28 centimeters. Okay, 14 times 2, which is equals to 28 centimeters. How many R do I have? I have 4 R's, so I'm just going to do 28 times 4, and I'll get to an answer of 112 cm. Okay, so what is 112 cm? 112 cm is everything over here, okay? And since I know that figure 1 has a perimeter of 144 cm, I can confidently find the perimeter of S. So we can find the perimeter of S. How do I go about that? I just simply have to do 144 minus 112. All right, when I do 144 minus 112, I get to 32. Now, this 32 cm is the perimeter of S. Okay, the question wants us to find the length of one side of square S. Okay, so since it is a square, I can just simply do 32 divided by 4, and we will get to an answer of 8 cm. And this is the length of one side of square S. So in question number 3, we can see that a shelf can be packed from end to end with 30 large books. Or I can say that the keyword here is the word or. It means that I can either put 30 over here, 30 large, or 45 small. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that 30 large books is actually equals to 45 small books. Okay, so this is the first thing that you can write down. Now the question says, right, that Kevin already packed the shelf with 3 large books. Okay, so these are the 3 large books, as you can see over here, and the 4 small books. Okay, so what are we going to do with this? The first thing we want to do is to reduce this to a smaller number. Okay, because you can see that 30 and 45 both can be divided by 5. We will get to 6 over here. Over here, we will get to 9. Now, once this is done, right, what happens is this, okay, is that we are going to reduce it further, all right, reduce it further to 3. We are going to reduce it further to 2:3. Okay, and I can also reduce it further. Okay, what I want to do is I want to change everything into large. I want to change everything into large. The reason is simply because the question is asking for how many more large books can Kevin pack. So you either look at all small or all large. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change everything into large. Now, I'm going to reduce this. I'm going to divide by 3 over here. I get to 1. And I'm going to divide by 3 over here. I'll get 2/3. So what does that mean? It means that for every one small book, I will be able to get 2/3 of the large books. Okay. Now, once this is done, right, you can move on and understand that the question, okay, tells us that he has already packed the shelf with 3 large books and 23 small books. Okay, so what we want to do is to change the small to 23. So when you do this, you times 23 over here, and then you also times 23 over here. Okay, and you'll get to in 1/3. Okay, well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to 15 1/3 large. All right, so I know that currently now I already have 3 large plus 15 1/3 large. That gives me 18 1/3 large books. All right, so because the question told us that it can either put 30 large books, okay, or 45 small books. Since I've changed everything to large, I know that I have 18 1/3 large. How many more large can I fit? Okay, so over here we will just simply say how many more. Okay, I will do 30 minus 18 1/3. And of course, I'll get to 11.7, but there's no such thing as 0.7 book, right? So what you want to do is you want to round down to 11 large books. All right, so from here itself, you can see that this person can still put another 11 large books on the bookshelf. So right now we are going to move on to question number 8. Now, as you can see over here, it says that if you were to buy the first fan, you are going to get a 55% discount. All right, so that means that you are paying just, okay, so you are paying just 45%. All right, for the second fan, you are paying just 30%, okay, which is an amazing deal, isn't it? So Xingyi, she said, hey, I'm gonna buy 2 fans, of the same model, which means to say these two, and she paid 127.50. Now this 127.50 is simply the amount after discount. Okay, the amount after discount. Okay, so what you want to do is, of course, you want to add up whatever that she has paid, which is 45% plus 30%, and that gives me 75%. And 75% is simply just 127.50. Okay, so we obviously have to get to our 1% first, which is my Mr. Greenman. We will get to an answer of $1.70. Okay, so what I want to do next is I want to find the price of a fan before discount. So I just have to say 100%. All right, so we times 100 over here. So 1.7 times 100, we get to $170. Let's move on to B. All right, now B says, right, that Nick also bought such 2 fans at the price before discount. All right, so unfortunately, Nick does not have any discount. So 2 fans without discount is simply just 170 times 2, and we get to 340. So this is the price before discount for Nick. The question wants you to find how much more, right? So let's ask ourselves, okay, to find how much more, we definitely have to minus, right? So we find the difference. All right, why difference? Because the word more means difference. So we just have to do $340 minus away $127.50. And we will get to an answer of $212.50. Question number 9, it says that the bar graph shows the number of files sold from January to March. And the number of files sold is not shown on the scale. So whenever that happens, right, don't panic, because if it's not shown on the scale, what we can do first is to simply say, okay, that each of these lines, they are actually just 1 unit. Okay, I understand that the printing is not that clear, but I'm pretty sure that during the exam itself, definitely it will be very clear. So as you can see over here, one jump itself will get to 1 unit. So 2 unit, 3 unit, 4 unit, 5 units. Okay, so we go in units first. So we are basically counting in multiples of 5, and we can see that this is simply just 12 units, okay? 11, 12. Now, and then the other one for February will be 9 units. And then for March itself, right, it is basically 15 units over here, right? So it's above 15 units. So this is 16 units, all right? Because this is basically just 1 unit up. Okay, I understand that it's not very clear, but yeah, during the exam itself, I'm pretty sure it will not be of this quality. Now, the question wants us to find the percentage decrease, okay, in the number of files sold from January to February. So whenever you solve a percentage decrease question, you have to know that it is decrease over the original times 100. So what is the decrease? The decrease is basically 12 minus 9 over the original. The original is definitely January. It's always the earlier month. Okay, so that's 12 as well, times 100. Okay, when you do 12 minus 9, you get to 3 over 12 times 100. So definitely you can punch your calculator and you realize that when I have 3 over 12 times 100, we get to an answer of 25%. So there was a 25% decrease in the number of files sold from January to February. Now, and then we move on to the next one, right? It says that there were 144 more files sold in March. We can see that March is 16 units. And for January itself, it's 12 units. So therefore, when I do this, I know that the difference is basically 16 units minus 12 units. And that gives me 4 units. And we know that 4 units is actually equals to 144. Okay, so what I want to do next is I simply do 144 divided by 4 because we always want to get to Mr. Greenman, which is 1 unit, and that gives me 36. And they want us to find March. So March itself, we know is 16 units. All right, so we just have to simply do 36 times 16. We get to an answer of 576 files sold in March. Okay, so when I look at I realize that they are talking about the average number of files, right? So we know that the average number of files from January to May, all right, so I just want to note this down first, was 435. So we are going to write down 435. Now, because I know the average, I can quickly find out what is the total. The total from when to when, from January to May as well. Okay, we simply just have to do 435 times 5 months. When you do that, you get to 2175, and that is the total number of files from January to May. And the question wants us to find the average number of files sold in April and May. Okay, so 2175 is made up of 5 months, right? So what we can do is we can quickly just note down, okay, that for January, because January is 12 units, okay, so we know that 12 units is actually equals to 36 times 12, and we get to an answer of 432. For February itself, we know that it is 9 units, okay, so basically that is just 36 times 9, and we get to an answer of 324. And for March itself, right, we learned that it is 16 units. So as you can see over here, this is 16 units. So we simply just have to do 16 units is simply just 36 times 16. And we get to an answer of 576. Okay, so for April and May, we already know that the total for April and May is simply just 2175 minus away January's, minus away February's, minus away March. Okay, so April and May, we will simply just do 2175 minus away 432 minus away 324 minus away 576. And therefore, the answer for this has to be 843 files. Now, what exactly is this 843 files? This is the total, all right? Because they want us to find the average, we just have to do 843 divided by 2. Why is it 2? Because April and May, that's 2 months, okay? And when you do that, you realize that your answer has to be 421.5. So now let's take a look at question number 10. Over here, as you can see, it says that Alan, Ben, and Chandra shared the cost of a gift. Okay, whenever I see a question like that, I can automatically assume that this is a constant total. Okay, so why is that so? I will review to you in the next few sentences. Okay, now, so we look at sentence number 2. It says that the ratio of Alan's share, so Alan to the total share of Ben and Chandra is 1:3. So therefore, over here, as you can see, that the total has to be 4 units. Okay, so once this is done, you can move on to sentence number 3. It says that the ratio of Ben's share to the total of Alan and Chandra is 1:5. And you know that the total over here has to be 6. Now, so what can you infer from this? You can see that the total of the gift is different. But that is not even possible at all, right? Because the cost of the gift must be the same because it is shared by the 3 of them. So therefore, what you need to do is to make the total the same. So you can either just times 6 to this and then times 4 to this, or you can just find a common multiple of 4 and 6. And we know that that is basically 12, right? So I'm just going to times 3 to this, times 3 to this, and times 3 to this. If those of you who are watching this and you're wondering why did I do that, because I am making the total the same, okay? I'm making the total the same. For here itself, of course, I will just times 2 times 2 times 2. Now, once this is done, I'll write out the new ratio. A is to B plus C is to my total. My A is 3 units. My B plus C is 9 units. My total is 4, 8, 12, 12 units. Okay. Now, and then of course, the next one will be B is to A plus C is to the total. Same thing, my B is 2 units. My A plus C is 10 units. And my total is 12 units. Okay, so once this is done, right, you can see that the total cost of the gift is the same, right? So we are going to write out their individual ratio. Okay, for A itself is 3. For B itself, it's 2. For C, then that will be not sure yet. Okay, but I know that my total is 12, right? So isn't it true that I can just simply do 12 minus away 3 and 2, and that gives me 7. Okay, so once this is done, right, you can read the next sentence. It says that the Chandra's share was $80 more than Ben's share. So let's fix our eyes on Chandra and Ben. We are just going to focus on Chandra and Ben. And we know that their difference is basically 7 units minus 2 units, which is equals to 5 units. Okay, and so we can confidently say that this 5 units is the difference, and therefore the difference is $80. We find our Mr. Greenman first, which is 1 unit. Okay, that gives me $16. Once this is done, you can read the question. The question say, how much did the gift cost? So the cost of the gift over here, as you can see, is 12 units. So we just have to do 16 times 12. Okay, therefore our answer for this question has to be $192. So for question number 11, it says that the number of boys and girls taking part in the quiz are in the ratio of 7:4. All right, so we can say that boys is to girls, okay, it's in this ratio, which is 7:4. Okay, so once this is done, you can move on to sentence number 2. It says that these students, okay, they are put into 2 groups. All right, they're put into 2 groups. 30% of the boys and 60% of the girls are in group P. So what we want to do is we want to branch it out. Okay, we are going to branch it out. All right, we are going to say that in boys, there's group P, group Q, group P, group Q. All right, so we know that for the boys, okay, 30% of them are in group P. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to simply say 30%, that means 30 over 100, which is also 3 over 10. Okay, so I would prefer to change it to 3 over 10. Now, but I have an issue. When I do 3 over 10 times 7, I will get to 2.1. And there's no such thing as 2.1 students, right? So I always tell my students this, that, hey, when you see that you get a decimal, okay, it will be wise for you to do one thing, which is to change the ratio, okay, into a multiple of 10. What do I mean by multiple of 10? Why does it have to be a multiple of 10? Because the denominator over here is a multiple of 10. All right, so we are going to times 10 to this. We are going to times 10 to this. We get to 70 is to 40. Now, in other words, you change the multiple accordingly to the denominator. If the denominator is 5, then you make everything into multiple of 5. If the denominator is 10, like what is happening right here, you make it all into a multiple of 10. If the denominator is 20, is 7, is 8, you do accordingly. So over here, this 60% is basically 6 over 10. Okay, now, so what I want to do, same thing, all right, I'm going to split this up. Okay, I'm going to say that I have two groups, P and I have Q. Okay, and I have two groups as well. I have P and I have Q. Okay, for P itself, the first one is 30%, so 3/10 times 70. What happens is this, is that I will get to 21. Okay, 21 students in group P. All right, and then for group Q, it will be 70 minus 21. Isn't it true? Because if 21 of them are in group P, isn't it true that the hidden information has to be 70 minus 21? Okay, so you can do that first, and you get to an answer of 49 in group Q. All right, so do the same thing for Gus. It says 60% of the Gus, so we have to do 6/10 times 40. We get to an answer of 24. So do the same thing. Hidden information will be 40 minus 24. All right, so when I do 40 minus 24, I will get to an answer of 16. So I know that there are 16 girls in group Q. All right, so now once I'm done with that, I can answer the question. It says, what is the ratio of the number of students in group P to group Q? So they want the ratio of P to Q. We just have to fix our eyes on P, which is this one over here. This one over here. So we simply just do 21 plus 24 is to Q, which is this one over here, and this one over here, 49 plus 16. Okay, when I do 21 is to 24, we get to 45. 49 plus 16, we get to 65. Okay, of course, you want to reduce them to simplest form, right? So you get to 9 is to 13. All right, so therefore, for A itself, your answer has to be this. Okay, so you double line it, make it obvious, right? Now, so in part B, it says that the number of boys in group P is fewer than 70. So what they're trying to say is that this is less than 70. Okay, so this is basically, these are all in units. So just wanted to write this down to remind you. All right, so we can say that, okay, if it's less than 70, all right, and since they are in this ratio, we have to make sure, okay, that 21 units, okay, is anywhere from 70 and below, right? Now, so what is the most possible multiple? It will be 63. Now, if you're wondering why is it 63, because it has to be a multiple of 7, right? Because over here, what happens is this, is that we are dealing with the number of boys and girls taking part in the quiz are in the ratio of 7:4. So the closest, okay, or in fact, the most number of boys that I can have over here is 63, because it has to be fewer than 70. If they say 70, then it will be 70. You get what I'm trying to say? So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find one unit. I'll do 63 divided by 21. Right? Just for your information, for those of you who do not know, 63 is a multiple of 7. Okay? Right? So over here, we get to 63 divided by 21, we get to 3. Now, the question is asking us, what is the largest possible total number of students taking part in the quiz? Okay, so the largest possible has to be, all right, of course, you go and find the total number of units, which is 45 units plus 65 units. Okay, where did I get all of this from? I got this from here. Okay, now, so when you do that, you will get to 110 units. Okay, so the largest possible will be 110 units. And that will be 3 times 110. We'll get to an answer of 330. And this is my answer for B. And 330 is the largest possible number of students taking part in the quiz. Well, so let's take a look at question number 12. It says that the figure is made up of 3 rectangles. Okay, so let me just highlight for you to see. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. And a straight line drawn across the rectangles divides the figure into 2 parts. We have the unshaded part and the shaded part. I apologize, this is the shaded one, this is the unshaded one. Okay, it's obvious to me that the shaded one, okay, is in a shape that is not usual. And the unshaded one is in a shape that we all know. It is a triangle. Okay, so let's start reading A. It says that the perimeter of the shaded part. Now, the moment I see the word perimeter of the shaded part, I want to whip out my highlights. I want to make sure I highlight, okay, the shaded part. Okay, I want to highlight the shaded part, and I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm looking at, okay? And for the unshaded part, I will also highlight, okay? For the unshaded part, I will also highlight. And you will soon realize that there is something that is common. Okay, there is something that is common. And that part that is common is the straight line that was drawn across the rectangle that divided the figure into two parts. Okay, so let's call the straight line, let's give it a name. Let's call it AC. Okay, so that we will be able to solve the question easily. Okay, now it says that the perimeter of the shaded part is 4 cm longer than the perimeter of the unshaded part. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, right, is to ask myself, what is the perimeter of shaded? Okay, what is the perimeter of shaded? So let's take a look at the perimeter of shaded. The first thing I have here is that this is 3. Okay, I know that this is 2. Why? Because mirror image, isn't it? If this is horizontal, I look horizontally. And then when I go up, I know that this is 3 as well. And then this is 4 as well. This is 7. This is 8. Do I know this? I do not know. Let's call this 1 unit. And I know that this entire line over here, if you can follow my cursor, this is AC. Okay, so we are going to write it out. Okay, because we start from here, so I'm going to start with 3 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 8 plus 1 unit plus AC. Okay, so this is the perimeter of the shaded one. Okay, so you might want to solve it as well. 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 3, 8, 8 plus 4, 12, 12 plus 7, 19, 19 plus 8, 27, plus 1 unit plus AC. Okay, so that is the perimeter of shaded when I put all of them together. Now, let's talk about the perimeter of unshaded. Let's talk about the perimeter of unshaded. Now, for perimeter of unshaded, we know that it's 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus AB. And you see that it is AC again. So AC is the same. All right. For those of you who have been attending my lessons, you know that whenever something is the same, we want to remove them. Okay, so you can see over here is 14 plus AB plus AC. All right. Now, in question A, right, it says that it is 4 cm longer. The meaning of 4 cm longer basically is the difference, isn't it? So what they're trying to tell us right now, right, is that the difference between this and this is actually 4 cm. Okay, so what we want to do, what do we want to do? If I know that the difference between the perimeter of shaded and the perimeter of unshaded, here's what we are going to do, right? So we are going to balance it. Whichever that is or that has lesser, we will give that 4 cm. What do I mean by that? Okay, we can see that the perimeter is 4 cm longer, correct? So we are going to say 27 plus 1 unit plus AC is equals to 14 plus AB plus AC plus 4 over here. Why is it that I've added 4 to the unshaded? Okay, so let me just make it very clear to you. So let me make this very clear that this is actually the unshaded part, and then this is for the shaded one. Okay, so what we want to do is make sure same families sit together. Okay, so first thing first, rearrange this part. Okay, we can see that this is basically just 18 plus AB plus AC, and then the other one is 27 plus 1 unit plus AC. Okay, since I have AC, I'm going to cancel AC, I'm going to cancel AC. All right, so we are going to shift this over. All right, 18 over minus 1 unit over I minus as well. All right, because 18 is positive. When I bring it over, I have to change the sign. 1 unit is also positive. When I bring it over, I have to change the sign. So we do 27 minus 18 is equals to AB minus 1 unit. Okay, now 27 minus 18, that gives me 9. 9 is equals to AB minus 1 unit. Now, when you see this, right, it allow me to just present to you in a model format. This basically means that when AB minus 1 unit, the difference is 9. Okay, so what is AB? AB is basically whatever that is over here. What is 1 unit? 1 unit is basically this small little line over here. Okay, so we know that their difference is 9. Do we know the total? Because if I have the total, I can actually find out what is this and what is this. Right? So let's quickly go and look into the diagram, and we see that we actually know the total. The total is basically 7 plus 3 plus 3. So 7 plus 3 is 10, 10 plus 3, that gives me 13, isn't it? So we know that the total is 13. Okay, what we want to do is simply just do 13 minus 9, and that gives me 4. And then after that, 4 divided by 2, that gives me 2. So what I can do is I can say confidently that this is 2 and this is 2. All right, so we know that 1 unit is 2. All right, so this is 2. And we know that AB will then be, as you can see over here, according to the model, is basically anything from here to here, right? So that is basically 9 plus 2, which is actually equals to 11, right? So we can confidently put that this is 11, okay? So once this is done, right, oh wow, I have solved the question. The question says, what is the length of AB? Okay, so we know that the length of AB has to be 11. Okay, now once this is done, you can of course solve B. It says, what is the area of the shaded part? Now you can see the shaded part is over here. Now whenever you solve something like that, okay, what you can do, okay, there are many ways about this, but what I will do is I will find the area of the whole figure, then I will remove away the area of triangle ABC, and then that will be my shaded. Okay, so what I can do is I can do at the top. Okay, so first thing first, I'll find the area of the figure. Okay, so the area of the figure is suggested in the question. It says that it is made up of 3 rectangles. Okay, so area of the figure, let's go with the big rectangle. We know that it's 8 times 13. Okay, so this is the big rectangle. Which one am I referring to? I'm referring to this one over here. Let me just check it for you so that you know. I'm referring to this big rectangle. Okay, now next one, plus the medium one. We have 4 over here, we have 3 over here, and we have 3 over here. So that's basically 4 times 6. Plus the smallest one, which is 2 and 3. Very simple. Okay. When I do this, I get to 104 over here, plus 24 over here, plus 6 over here. Okay, so when I do that, I will get to an answer of 134. Okay, so this is the area of the whole figure. Now, the next thing you want to do is, of course, to find the area of the triangle. Okay, the right angle triangle. Okay, so the right angle triangle will be half times the base, which is 2 plus 4 plus 8. So 2 plus 4 plus 8 times the height, which is actually 11. Okay, so we do half times 14 times 11. So when I do 14 times 11 and half, I'll get to 77. Okay, so now we definitely do not just want to stop here. We want to find the area of the shaded part. Okay, so area of shaded will then be 134 minus away 77. Okay, when I do 134 minus away 77, you will get to an answer of 57 centimeters square. Okay, so don't forget your units in your answer, 57 centimeters square. And for the first one, since they're asking for AB only, we will have to write 11 cm. Now for question number 14, right, it shows that, okay, there are some adults and some child tickets, and we know the price, we know the age. So when I see something like this, NXV comes to my mind first. Okay, now we know that for adults below 60 years old, you have to pay $16, and if you're 60 years old and above, there is greater subsidy, so therefore it is $11. And for child, it is below 16 years old. Whoever that is below 16 years old, you are considered as a child, and you are just going to pay $7. So I think this applies to everyone who is watching my video right now. Right now, it says that the number of adults tickets sold was 5 times the number of child tickets sold. So what I'm trying to tell you is basically adult tickets will be 5 units. And for child tickets, it will be 1 unit. Okay, now 5/8 of the adult tickets sold were for adults aged below 60 years old. Okay, because we know that for adults, right, it is divided into 2 age group, one that is below 60, another one that is above 60. Okay, so below 60 is 5/8. Well, but for above 60, it will then be 3/8. Do you remember just now that this adults is actually 5 units, right? And in my earlier videos or in my earlier questions, I talked about this, right? That if you want to multiply, because over here what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 5/8 times of, because of times the adult tickets. So if you're going to multiply, you want to make sure that you do not get a decimal. So you want to change this into a multiple of 8 first, right? Because the multiple that you're going to change into depends on the denominator that you are working on. All right, so this denominator is 8. So we are going to change this to 40 units. Okay, so when I do 5/8 times 40 units, I know exactly how much is it going to be in terms of units for my adults that are below 60 years old. I know it's 25, right? So for the other one, will then just be 3/8 times 40, okay? We will get to 15 units over here. Okay, now not forgetting for children, I know initially it was 1 unit, but because I have multiplied 8 to my left, I have to make sure I multiply 8 to my right as well. So for children, now I have increased it to 8 units. Okay, now, so once this is done, right, we can start working on it. Okay, now, but before I even want to go on to that, maybe I want to see whether if I can answer A. It says, what fraction of the tickets sold were for adults aged 60 years old and above? Okay, so for 60 years old and above, all right, so we have to look at this one over here. We know that it is simply just 15, or in fact, I would just write it out first. Okay, aged 60 and above over total. Okay, so age 16 years old and above will be 15 over the total, which is 40 plus 8. That gives me 48. When I reduce to simplest form, of course, I can divide by 3. Okay, I will get to 5 over 16. Okay, so therefore, this is my answer for A. Of course, if you want to just solve the rest first before coming to A, I think that's perfectly fine as well. Okay, so we know A answer, we can go on to B. All right, it says that a total of 5,589 was collected from the sale of tickets. Now, do you remember just now I said in my earlier part that this is definitely an NXV question, right? So since we know the respective units, we are going to draw our NXV table. Okay. So what I have here is really just my adults. Okay. But well, for my adults, right, I can split it into two parts, two age groups, correct? So adults, this one is below 60, and then we have adults, and then this is above 60. All right, and then we have over here children. Okay, so for that itself is just one age group. All right, we can split it up. Over here we write down our number. Okay, number basically means how many. Over here I'll write down my value. Value basically means how much. Okay, for my number itself, right, as you can see over here, for adults below 60 is actually 25 units. Okay, well, for the ticket, the value of the ticket, the price of the ticket is actually $16. So over here, this is $16. Now, for adults that are above 60, okay, the value is 15 units. So we're just going to write 15 units. And for the value is actually $11. So I'm just going to write $11. And for children, we know it's 8 units. So we are going to write 8 units. And for the value, it is $7. So I apologize. I should just write $7 over here. Okay, so remember to always multiply because number x value requires us to multiply. We do not know the actual number of adults below 60, but we do know it in units. Okay, so when you multiply, you get to the total. All right, over here you get to $400 units, and for the other one, when you do 15 times 11, we'll get to $165 units, and of course, finally the last one that will give me $56 units. When you add these three up together, okay, you do 400 plus 165 plus 56, we'll get to $621 units. Okay, and what exactly is this $621 units? This $621 units is basically 5,589. Okay, so this is 5,589. What we want to do is we want to always find 1 unit first. Okay, so we do 5589 divided by 621. All right, we get to 9. Now, if you're wondering what 9 is this, okay, let me just be a bit more specific here. I will then do 5589. I'll write it out, divided by 621. Now, what happens here is this, okay? When you divide dollar cancel, the answer that you get cannot be in dollars anymore. This 9 has to be 9 tickets. Okay, because in this question, there are only 2 units. It's either tickets, okay, or dollar. All right, and 9 tickets also meant 9 humans, or 9 adults, or 9 children, right? Okay, so I'll just write as 9 tickets first. Now, the question wants us to find the total number of tickets sold. So since they're asking for number, we are going to cast our eyes onto the number sign. Can you see? All right, so over here we know, right? It's 25 plus 15 plus 8. That gives me 48 units in total. So what is it that we have to find? We have to then find 48 units. All right, so when we do 9 times 48, okay, we will get to an answer of 432 tickets. All right, so therefore, this is your B answer for this question 14. So now let's take a look at question number 15. I believe this is a question that many of you have heard before. Okay, so this is from 2021. Now, as you can see over here, it says that Helen and Ivan have the same total number of coins. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to make sure I write down that Helen is over here. Okay, I want to draw a model that is of the same size. Ivan over here, I want to draw the model that is of the same size. Okay, so once this is done, what I can do is, of course, I can move on to sentence number 2. Sentence number 2, it says that Helen has a number of 50-cent coins. So we do not know how many 50-cent coins, but we do know that for 20-cent coins, there are a total of 64. So we are going to show that this is actually 64. Okay, and we are going to say that these are 20 cents. Okay, so if that is the case, it means that everything else over here will be my 50 cents. All right, which I don't know the number. Now, then we move on to sentence number 3. Sentence number 3 says that the total mass of a coins is 1.134 kg. All right, so all of these add up together, I get to 1.134. Nothing much to write for now. Okay, we go on to sentence number 4. It says that Ivan has a number of 50-cent coins and 104 20-cent coins. Okay, because it's 104 20-cent coins, we are going to break it up. We're going to say that this is 64 first, and whatever that is over here is basically 20 cents. Okay, we have another 40 over here. Okay, and whatever that is over here is basically 20 cents as well. Why is it 40? Because we simply break up 104 into 2 parts. We have 60 and we have, I apologize, we have 64 and we have 40 over here. Okay, so whatever that is left, that is basically my 50-cent coins. And I do not know how much is that, right? Now, what I want to do is I want to mirror image up. Okay, since those are 50 cents, I'm just going to use a blue color. Okay, I know that there's 40 over here. Okay, so you can see from here, the only thing that is different is actually whatever that is over here and whatever that is over here. Now, why is that so? Because you see that the 40 for Ivan is actually 20 cents and the 40 for Helen is actually 50 cents, right? Now, whatever that is over here, which is 1 unit and 1 unit, both carries the same value that is 50 cents and carries the same coin. Therefore, it carries the same weight, all right? Now, in A, it says, who has more money in coins? How much more? Now, when I look at something like that, because of the word more, I need to look at the difference. Over here, the only thing that is different is actually whatever that I have highlighted in yellow over here, right? So we just simply have to find Helen first. Okay, for Helen herself, she has 40 times 50 cents. And we get to an answer of $20. Whereas for Ivan, he has 40 coins as well, but that is for 20 cents. Okay, so when we do 40 times 20 cents, we get to $8. So how much more? Definitely we know Helen has more. Okay, how much more? We know it is $20 minus $8, and that gives me $12. So this is my answer for A. Of course, we have to say that it is Helen who has more. So we are going to say that Helen has more money. Okay, all right, and how much more? $12 more. All right, so this is my first part. Now let's move on to B. It says that each 50-cent coin is 2.7 grams heavier than each 20-cent coins. Okay, so for 50-cent coin, all right, it is 2.7 grams heavier. Okay, 2.7 grams, and then 20 cent will just be this. Okay, so from here itself, you can see, right, that actually this weight difference, it's only applicable to one thing. Okay, now, but before I go on to that, right, I just want to show you, or in fact remind you, that the total mass of Helen's coin is 1.134 kg. Okay, now I'm going to show you the ones that are the same. Okay, so you can see that this 64 20-cent coins will have the same weight as Ivan's 64 20-cent coins. Okay, I believe this is something that y'all can understand. Now, this 1 unit of 50-cent coins from Helen has the same weight as this 1 unit of 50-cent coins from Ivan. The only difference in weight and in value is the parts that I've highlighted in yellow. So this 40 50-cent coins from Helen is definitely heavier than this 40 20-cent coins from Ivan, because we already learned that the 50-cent coin is 2.7 kg heavier, right? So what we want to do is to find, okay, we know that the small difference is 2.7. Now we are going to find the total difference. So the total difference is basically 40 coins times 2.7 grams. When you do 40 times 2.7, you will get to 108 grams. Okay, so who has 108 grams more? Helen has 108 grams more. Why? Because Helen's 40 coins are actually from 50 cents. So Helen has coins that are heavier than Ivan. All right, so over here, we simply just have to do 1.134. To find Ivan's weight, we just have to do 1.134 minus away the difference, okay? But of course, 108 grams, right, is not in kg. So you have to divide by 1,000 and you get to 0.108 kg. Okay, so for Ivan's mass, okay, it will be 1.134 minus 0.108. You will get to an answer of 1.026 kg. Okay, so if for those of you who still don't understand, let me explain to you. The reason why I minus is really because Helen's 40 50 cents, okay, 40 50-cent coins, they are definitely heavier than Ivan's 40 20-cent coins, because we have learned from here, it says that each 50-cent coin is 2.7 grams heavier than each 40-cent coins. So that is only for one, right? But Helen has 40 more, right? This explains why Helen is 0.108 heavier than Ivan's coins, okay? So yep, so for B itself, right, your answer has to be the one over here. So now let's take a look at question number 16. It says that a small circle with center O has been cut from a circular piece of cardboard with the same center. Okay, the radius of the small circle is 8 cm. So I think this is extremely important. I'll quickly write down that this is 8. I'll quickly write down that this is 8. Okay. So once this is done, right, it says that the remaining cardboard is then cut into 4 equal parts, as you can see over here. All right, along the dotted lines. So they cut it, and when they rearrange it, it becomes this new shape in figure number 2. Okay, so what you want to do first, of course, okay, is to ask yourself if you have the measurements for everything over here. Now, as you can see over here, right, if this is 8 cm, this is 8 cm, right, what I can do is I can draw lines over here. And you can see that this actually forms another quadrant, which is actually the same as this quadrant here, right? So isn't it true? Okay, isn't it true that this is also 8? All right, so what you want to do is you want to split it up again. You want to split everything up, and you will soon realize that all of these are actually quadrants that are from here, right? Because I have cut this into 4 parts, isn't it? So actually this is 8. All right, this will also be 8. This will also be 8. So from here itself, right, I can actually find out what is this question mark over here and this question mark over here. All right, so I can quickly do just 42 minus 8 times 1, 2, 3, 4. First, I'll get to 10, and I'll simply do 10 divided by 2, and I'll get to 5. Okay, so I no longer have to put question mark. What I can do is I can replace it, and I can say that that is basically 5 over here and 5 over here. Now, you want to show it in your figure 1 as well. All right, because if you know that that is 5, then you know that this is 5, and you know that this is 5 as well. So because of that, right, we can confidently, okay, find out or write down the radius, okay, the radius of the big circle. Now, the radius of the big circle is basically just 5 plus 8 because the big circle is the whole thing. All right, so 8 plus 5, we get to 13. Now the radius, okay, the radius of the small circle, will basically be just 8. Okay, so these are important information that you need to note down. Now the question wants us to find the area of the new shape. So the area of the new shape, as you can see over here, is this shaded part, and then we times 4, right? We can find one first, okay? Now, so, well, but you realize that figure number 2, right, is actually, figure number 1, but we rearranged it, right? So what we can do is simply just use figure number 1 to help us to find the area of figure number 2, okay? Of course, you can also find the quadrant, the big quadrant, minus away the small quadrant, you get to 1, and then you times 4. I think that is also possible. Now, what I prefer to do is I like to find the area of the big circle, and then after that, I will minus away area of the small circle, and I'll get to this shaded part, which is the area of the new shape. Okay, so I'm going to first do area of big circle. Okay, so for area of big circle, basically we use the formula pi r square. All right, my pi, according to the question, it says to use 3.14. And my radius, according to what I've noted down, is basically 13 to the power of 2. All right, when I do 3.14 times 13 to the power of 2, okay, I will get to an answer of 530.66. Now, next thing, of course, you want to find the small circle. All right, same thing, pi r square. Okay, so we go 3.14 times the radius. The radius, as you can see over here, it's 8. So 8 to the power of 2. So when you do 3.14 times 8, you get to an answer of 200.96. Okay, so this is not done. This is not the area of the new shape. Okay, so the area of the new shape will then be the big circle, which is 530.66, minus away 200.96. Okay, and when you do that, you will get to an answer of 329.7 centimeter square. Now, once you're done with A, right, you definitely want to do B. All right, B says to find the perimeter of the new shape. So when you find the perimeter of the new shape, you have to be very careful, okay? Because over here, we are talking about the arc length. As you can see over here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, which is the big ones. I also have the small ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and not forgetting, okay, the 5 cm over here, the straight lines, okay, all the way to the other side, which is also the 5 cm. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to highlight it so that I have a better view of what I'm trying to find. So let's start from here. We go down all the way up, go up. So these are all of the parts that I'm going to find. And you'll soon realize that the arc length of the big radius, they actually form, because I have 4 of those, right? So they actually form a circle. Okay, so what I can do is I can simply just use circumference of a circle to find that instead of finding 1. Of course, yeah, can I find 1 and then I times 4? I think that's possible as well. Okay, so for me, what I will do is I will find, okay, the circumference. Okay, so this is for B, yeah? I'll find the circumference of circle first, okay? All right, so simply put, I will just have to do 2 pi r. Okay, so we will just do 2 times 3.14. Well, what exactly is the radius? The radius over here has to be 13 cm. Okay, so we times 13. And we get to an answer of 81.64 centimeter. Okay, well, the other one will be circumference of the small circle. Okay, we will simply have to do 2 pi r as well. All right, so we simply just do 2 times 3.14 times the radius. For the small circle, it is actually 8. All right, so we are just going to times 8 over here. When you do that, get to an answer of 50.24 cm. Okay, so that is the circumference of the small circle. Okay, so once you're done with that, not forgetting to add the 2 up. Okay, so because of that, you can simply just note down already that I'm going to find the perimeter of, according to the question, they say of the new shape. So we are just going to say of the new shape. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do would be 81.64 plus the small one, which is 50.24 plus 5 plus 5. Okay, because those are the straight lines. Okay, so when I do that, I will get to an answer of 141.88 cm. Okay, so whatever there is over here will be 141.88 cm. For A itself is 329.7 centimeter square. Now, so let's take a look at question number 17. It says that the figure shows tab A and tab B and an empty tank. Okay, so we can obviously see that tab A, gives water, and for tab B, water comes out of it. Okay, now what happens is this, right? It says that at 2 p.m., tab A was turned on, and water flow into the tank from tab A at a rate of 4.2 liters per minute. So we know that for tab A, okay, every 1 minute, 4.2 liters of water will go in. Okay, and this happened at 2 p.m. All right, so you might want to write down 2 p.m. What I like to do is I like to draw a timeline, because when I draw a timeline, it will be very, very clear at each juncture how much of the water is inside or how much of the water flows in. Okay, so what I would prefer to do is I draw a timeline. I say from 2 p.m. okay to 2:05 p.m. we have 5 minutes of water contributed by A. All right, so we know that 1 minute is actually equals to 4.2 liters. So we simply just find 5 minutes first. All right, when I do 4.2 times 5, we get to an answer of 21 liters. Okay, so this is all done by just A. All right, so I'll write A on top because I know that that is only by A. All right, after 5 minutes, tab B was turned on. So after 5 minutes, I will turn on tab B. All right, and this goes on till 2:15 p.m. Okay, so over here, as you can see, all right, this is basically 10 minutes, right? So I'm going to find out how much, okay, I'm going to find out how much has A contributed. Okay, so we know that for 10 minutes, then that will be 42 liters. However, do you remember that B is also taking water out, right? So B is also taking water out. But the thing is, I do not know, all right? I do not know how much water did B take out. Okay, but what I do know for sure is this, is that at 2:15 p.m., the tank was half filled with water. So what I want to do is I want to find the amount of water over here. So the volume of water over here, okay, will then be just simply 55 times 30 times 10. All right, so we will do 55 times 30. Now, what is 55 times 30? That is the base area. All right, because if this is 30, then this will be 30 as well. Correct? So this is the height of the tank. Okay, because it is half filled. If it is half filled, then it will be half of the height. All right, so 55 times 30 times 10. And this basically gives me 16,500 ml. At this juncture, so I know at this juncture, I already have 16,500 ml. So at 2:05 p.m., I have 21 liters, which is also 21,000 ml. Okay, now from 2:05 to 2:15, right, I should have a total of, okay, so this is if B is not around, okay, I should have, all right, a total of 21,000 ml plus 42,000 ml. Okay, if B is not around, I should have 21 plus 42. That gives me 63,000 ml. But why is it that I have only 16,500? So that is basically what B has taken out. All right, B has taken out. This is the amount of water B has taken out, right? So 63,000 ml minus away 16,500 ml, we get to an answer of 46,500 ml. So this is what B has taken out in a span of 10 minutes. Okay, so this is for 10 minutes. Now, but the question wants us to find 1 minute. So if 10 minutes is 46,500, if we want to find 1 minute, we just have to divide by 10, right? So 46,500 divided by 10, I get to 4,650 ml. Okay, let's see if the question wants us to find liters or ml. This question says I want liters, right? So for liters, that will then be 4.65 liters. So in the next part of the question, it says at 2:30 p.m., what fraction of the tank was filled with water? Okay, so over here, right, I know that they want it to be fraction. So they are basically asking for water in tank over the total. All right, so that's what we are trying to find. Now, 2:30 p.m. Okay, so let's note down that this is 2:30 p.m. Okay, from 2:15 to 2:30, that is basically 15 minutes, isn't it? So let's talk about A first. Okay, for A itself, water in, maybe we can write down in over here. Okay, that is for 15 minutes. So 1 minute, right? We have 4.2 liters. Then 15 minutes, that will basically be 4.2 times 15. All right, so 63 liters of water goes in from 2:15 to 2:30. All right. Well, for out itself, what happens? Let's write over here for out. Since B takes out 4.65 liters of water every minute, the amount of water B will take out in 15 minutes will be 4.65 times 15, and that is basically 69.75 liters. So you can see that the water in is actually lesser than the water out. Okay, so therefore, how much water goes out? All right, the total out will then be 69.75 liters minus away 63 liters. When you do that, you get to an answer of 6.75 liters. So this is the amount of water that goes out, which means to say the volume of water over here. Okay, so the volume of water over here left will then be 16,500 ml. We will change to 16.5 liters minus away 6.75 liters. We get to 9.75 liters of water left in the tank. All right, so now this is exactly what they want us to find, which is 9.75 liters. Okay, now then the question says, what fraction, right? So we definitely need the total. Now the total, as in the capacity, right? So the capacity, we can first find that as well. Okay, so for the capacity, it will then be 55 times 20 times 30. Okay, and we get to 33,000. And what exactly is 33,000? 33,000 is also equals to 33 liters, right? So over here, you just have to put over 33, right? So when we do 9.75 over 33 liters, we'll get to 13 over 44. So therefore, this is the fraction of the tank that was filled with water at 2:30 p.m.